Hello and welcome to another Sims 4 speed build. So today I am building in the world of Hinford-on-Bagley, which came with the Cottage Living pack, which is of course, the new expansion pack from The Sims 4. And I will do lots of talking and gushing about this pack as we get further along in the build. But let me just say off the bat, I love it so much. I was a little bit prepared to be disappointed, just, given the nature and the history of the franchise, but I love it. I think it's so great. I don't do usually very much gameplay, but I actually did a lot of gameplay with this pack, which is surprising and a little bit weird for me. But let's start talking about the build first. So this build is 4 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, maybe 5 bathrooms actually. Yeah, 4 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, an informal living room, a formal living room, a huge kitchen, a study/library, and laundry room, all that, dining room, all that stuff that you normally see in a build. And I also should say that this build does include custom content, as you can see, but the custom content is only on the exterior of the house itself. So the brick that I'm using here, the doors, windows, and there's like a little stone facade that I do along the side in a little while here. Those are custom content, but none of the inside or the landscaping is custom content. So if you want to use this build, if you want to download it and you don't use custom content, you actually still can. You just have to replace the brick and the doors and windows, which I think is totally doable if you really do want to play with it. I actually think that the cobblestone sort of brick, it's not brick, well, it's not brick, it's cobblestone. I think the cobblestone exterior that came with Cottage Living would actually look really good here. I almost used it myself. So if you just want an idea and you decide to swap around, that's how I would do that. Just my 2 cents. But really, I think with this, what I like about these sort of like English country houses is that the house shape makes it very easy to customize it, and pretty much everything looks good. Like, I'm pretty sure almost any wallpaper would look good on this. There's also some really nice ingrained brick options. I was just working off a reference picture, which I will try to remember to add here. And I wanted it to be as true to that as possible, which is why in a while you'll see me add a door to the barn, kind of. A barn-looking addition to the house that is more or less decorative, because I just turned that into an office, so you really wouldn't need to go outside from there. But all that aside, I'm so happy with how this build came out. It took me a while, mostly the landscaping. As you can see, the house is pretty much coming together. The shape is super simple, it's really just a couple squares, so but the landscaping, oh my gosh, even the interior didn't take that long. It's just, there's a lot of landscaping, and that is why this video is kind of on the longer side, so sorry about that. I do have plans for my next build, and that one will be CC free, and the one after that will be totally CC. So CC both on the interior and on the exterior, because FelixAndre and HarrieCC just released a new CC pack today, and I very much want to use it. So I think my the build after this one, the build after this one, whatever, another build on the channel at some point will have custom content. But as I said, this one just has custom content on the exterior, so it would be really easy to swap it out if you decide to do so. More about the house. I did imagine a specific family here while I was building, and it's 2 parents, a teenage girl or boy, just whichever one you want to do. I pictured a girl, doesn't matter, and 2 children. So for the children, it is a, boys themed room, but like I said, either way, it doesn't really matter. So, and then there's also, oh, I didn't, so my only qualm with this house is that I wasn't able to put in like a butler suite, which I would have really liked to do, because I feel like an estate this size would definitely have a butler. Like, it's so big, but I really couldn't find. I tried to squeeze room into the back somehow, but it just wouldn't fit. It didn't work out for this one. So if you wanted to change one of the bedrooms, oh, there's also a nursery. That's what I was forgetting. So there's also a nursery. So if you wanted to change out the nursery into a butler's room, because it does have an ensuite bathroom, you could absolutely do that. There's also the little side addition to the house, which is currently an office, but that could also very easily become, the butler's corner. So if that is something you want to add in the game, would be really easy to do so. Just swap out one of the bedrooms for something else. I imagine that this is a really big family living here because it's a really big house. I also imagine that the mother of the house inherited it from her family, and she decided, and she moved away when she was a little bit younger to go to school and, you know, sort of forge her own life. And then when she was older and started a family, she decided to move back here to her childhood home after her parents passed. So I mean, it's a beautiful house. I would absolutely live here in a heartbeat. I would love to live in a place like this, but alas, I could not, so I will just build it virtually. Cottage living. I felt so ready to be disappointed, just given the nature of, you know, EA and the franchise in general. But I love this pack. It is so perfect, and I can't, I'm honestly now, I think for the first time since playing The Sims, very split between building and gameplay. Like, I usually don't do very much gameplay, but now I want to do gameplay with this pack almost as much as I want to build in it. Almost, because it is still geared more towards building. By the way, the little animal hedges are probably my favorite item from the pack. I know that that sounds crazy because so many really good items came with this, and in the debug menu, oh my gosh, so many. But the bunnies and the chickens and the oh, there's a cow. I managed to get them all into this lot in some form or another. So I think the chickens and the cow I end up using on the back of the house, but I use the little bunnies here in the front, and they're just so precious. I'm just so in love with them. They're beyond adorable. I wanted the landscaping to have a feeling of being very symmetrical, you know, very manicured. Like, this family definitely has a gardener or, you know, landscapers who come here and make sure that the house stays looking perfect. So that is why I was really aiming for, usually with landscaping, I don't aim for exact symmetry, but for this build, I really wanted everything to just look perfect. And I think that reflects a lot of the family that I imagine living here too. They just want everything to be, especially the parents. The kids obviously care a little bit less than that, but the parents who live here, they just want everything to be perfect, or if not be perfect, they want everything to look like it's perfect. And that's just very important to them. Like, appearances are pretty important. You know, they both went to good schools, and they both work, well, I'd imagine pretty high paying jobs to be able to, even within a house like this inherited, you still have to work quite a bit to be able to afford property taxes and all that. So the parents who live here, they work high paying jobs, and they expect a lot of themselves and of their family. And they just want everybody to think that they're like the most perfect, wonderful family in the world. And I don't know, maybe they are. I didn't imagine like a lot of drama or strife between the children and the family. I mean, I'm sure that there is with the teenager because it's a teenager, but I think they're a very loving family. They just have, you know, high expectations, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But yeah, the interior of the house didn't take that long. Neither did the shape of it. As you can see, we're pretty much actually finished with the actual shape of the house. The landscaping, though, I think I spent, oh my gosh, over at least a week on this house. It was spread out, but in total, I had about 9 hours of footage when I finished. So cutting 9 hours of footage down to 35 minutes, it's a long build, but I'm pretty proud of that. I had to do a lot of editing. I did a lot of stuff off camera because it didn't feel important. So for example, the bathrooms on the interior, I just did that off camera because who cares about bathrooms? They're all sort of the same, unless you really care about bathrooms, in which case I'm very sorry. And I also did have to edit out, I recorded it, but I just couldn't keep it in because this video I think was at like 56 minutes, so I really needed to cut it down. So I did have to cut out a lot of the landscaping, like the little lawn thing I did here. I cut most of that out. I actually love the way that looks. Whenever you look up fancy houses or estates or whatever on Pinterest, every single estate always has these really fancy houses. And now that I'm sitting here watching this, I sort of wish that I put a fountain in the front instead of these hedges. I feel like it's missing a fountain. Oh, now I kind of want to go back and add one. Well, if you decide to play with it, you can go back and add one. I will actually be playing with the family that I envisioned here because it sounds fun, and I don't think I've ever played The Sims with like a full household before. I think that'll be really fun to do because, sorry about that. Take a sip of water here. I feel like it would actually be really fun to, I think the largest household size I've ever actually played was 4 Sims. So I had 2 parents and 2 kids, and I was completely and totally overwhelmed. But it would be fun because this household, let's see, they have the 2 parents and 3 kids and a baby. So that would definitely be a challenge getting everybody organized. But I feel that I usually end up just focusing on one sim, and everybody else just kind of goes through like the mundane aspects of life. They just go to school and work, and I kind of just put all my energy into one sim that I choose. But I think it would actually be really fun to try to play like a huge household like this. So maybe I think I'm actually going to do that. So if I decide to play it, I will probably be moving those for a fountain. But I also just really like that lush look. I mean, this is a house, on the countryside, so I did want it to feel, very not natural, but naturey, if that makes any sense. Like, they obviously value, things being very pretty. And here is probably my favorite part of this build. I'm going to say that about a lot of parts. I really love this build. One of my favorite parts of this build is I built a gazebo. I always want to build a gazebo. I never have space, but as soon as I saw the pond tool, I was like, okay. I need a gazebo and a bridge and a pond, in the back of some big house. And to be perfectly honest, that's kind of why I built this house, is because I wanted a house that would be suitable to have, a gazebo in the backyard. And I did cut out a lot of building the pond because it took me a really long time. I am horrible at terrain tools, so oh my gosh, it took me a long time to master it. So you can see the pond is done there, but I didn't leave it on camera because, like I said, it took me at least an hour to figure out how to do it. And it's not even particularly hard. I'm just really bad at terrain tools. But moving on, we're doing more landscaping. This house is mostly landscaping, but I don't know, I love it. It's like, it feels like, if you ever visit, I visited last year, Biltmore in North Carolina, and they also had a similar thing where all around the house there's just tons of like gardens and like manicured, flower beds and lawns and hedge statues, and I kind of wanted to replicate something like that where it just feels very lush. Like, I wanted the entire house to feel lush and alive, and that was my way to sort of counteract it feeling a little bit more dated, because obviously it's supposed to be an older house and that's reflected in a lot of the furniture. But I didn't want it to feel, super old or, stale or dead. Also, the very annoying the fence bug happened. I exited the game and re-entered, but it did not repair the bug, which is very scary because now I'm worried that it won't fix. But I checked it again when I went to take screenshots for this build, and it was back that time. So, but I like the fence of the kind of corner of the gate there anyway. I think that looks nice. But it is really annoying. The fence just disappears. But I felt like they patched that bug for a long time. I didn't see it, and then this time it just came back up, and I couldn't even figure out what it was. But anyway, I really love those gates that come with cottage living. The little lights that are on them. I forgot to check to see if those lights are functional. I'm pretty sure they're not, but I will check. I actually don't remember. So here I got to use a little llama statue, I think that is, which I don't think I've ever used before. I can't remember if that one came with cottage living or if that one came with get to work. For some reason, get together. I always get those confused. For some reason, I feel like that came with get together. And it is a little bit jumpy here just because, as I said, I did have to edit out a lot of the landscaping just because the video was so long. And even now, 35 minutes, I was just thinking like, well, what am I going to talk about for 35 minutes? Or is anyone going to want to watch a 35-minute speed build? Because it's pretty long. But I did decide to leave most of the landscaping in just because I feel like it's such an important part of the house that I really just wanted to be able, for you guys to be able to see it, and also because I'm pretty proud of it. I'm usually not that great at landscaping, but I guess I was just hit with a lightning bolt of inspiration for this build because I just knew what I wanted to do for almost every part of it and how I wanted to build all these sort of gardens for the house. So I actually really love the way that came out. There is plenty of seating all around the exterior and the interior of the house. As with all rich people houses, you need tons of seating because, I mean, you just have so much land and you have so much space. You just have to sit down. You just get exhausted with with all the space that you have. But here I am just repainting or reflooring the gazebo. I'm actually still not 100% sold on the color that I ended up choosing for the gazebo, but I mean, I don't know. What are you gonna do? I kind of do wish, now that I'm looking at it, that I left that tree there. because it does look a little bit empty on the sides. I actually might I maybe might go through and add just maybe some more hedges or something like that along the sides of the house. But then again, no. Okay, I remember the reason that I didn't. So when you're in build mode, of course, you see the outline of the lot. But when you actually look at this in live mode, it blends in really, really well with the surroundings, which is why I didn't feel the need to add any sort of privacy hedges in the back, just because it's supposed to look like all of that land around them is their land. So I really didn't see any point in adding hedges. But now we are here on the interior. That was fast. And I'm just adding some chairs and some decorations to the front entryway. I actually use platforms in the entryway, which I almost never do. But I was sort of forced to because of the platforms that I used on the outside. But actually, like the way it looks out, I really should use platforms more. I was so excited when they came out, and then I hardly ever use them. But I think that they're great. They add a lot of dimension to the build, which can be good, especially for a very square, boxy house like this. Any like little ways that you can add dimension and just make it look more interesting are always, I think, like a really great idea. I did use the stair. It's not really a trick, but where you cut out the top part of the stairs so that it looks like you have like a 2-story foyer. I thought that didn't work anymore, so I just tried it on a whim. I play tested it. My sim was able to get up and down the stairs and into all the bedrooms with no problem. So if you play it and you do have a problem with it, please let me know, because I don't see why. If I didn't have a problem with it, you probably won't either. But if there is an issue with that, please let me know. I was very on the fence about doing it just because I'd heard that it didn't work anymore, but I guess it was patched because it worked fine for me. Here we're working on the parlors, what I'm calling the formal living room. I call it the formal living room, even though it's much smaller than the informal living room, just because it doesn't have a TV, which I feel makes it more formal. And also, the walls are a little bit more, it has like this flowery wallpaper. I think most of this game actually ended up being a combination of cottage living and base game, which complement each other really, really well. But I really like I said, I wanted it to feel older, not dated, and I think that, a lot of like the flowery patterns, if paired with some of the other packs, I think that it does achieve that. But paired with cottage living, for some reason, I didn't get that feeling where it was like, this is a house for old people. It did just feel like a rich family home. And there, through the informal dining room, you have the sunroom, and I just put a little area to have tea and for someone to play the piano. So I imagine, maybe after dinner, people, a member of the family will go in there, play the piano while the other, the parents, drink tea. There's also knitting and cross-stitching stuff in there, even though a grandma doesn't live here. Just to address that very quickly. I knit all the time. It's one of my biggest hobbies, obviously outside of Sims building. And so every time I see another builder's YouTube video and they just talk about, oh, I'm building a grandma's house, so there's lots of knitting and lots of things that grandmas like to do, I feel so hurt just for a minute, because it's like, there are young people who knit too. I happen to be one of them. So I actually usually do use the knitting pack in my game. Like my sim self knits all the time because I knit all the time. So it's not just for grandmas, just to clear that up for anyone. But here I'm working on the kitchen. The kitchen is huge because I wanted to take advantage of the, cook together thing, because I imagine that the mother of this house is very, she really likes doing homey stuff. She does work. I don't know where, but because I didn't think about it. She does work, but then I also imagine that she really likes cooking with her kids. Like, she just loves her family, which seems like an understatement. I guess I'm sure most people, everyone I would hope loves their kids, but she really loves being like around her family. She's very family oriented and always cheers her up, at the end of the day, to be able to come home and cook dinner with her kids or with her husband or wife or whoever you decide to pair her with. So I really wanted to have a big kitchen just as like the center of the household for this family, which is why there's a really big island here. Maybe a couple of the kids could sit at the island and watch the mom cook, or it could help out. So that was just the vibe I was going for. I also didn't want to over clutter the kitchen because I imagine the Sims who live here are actually pretty neat, which maybe is just a cop out because I didn't want to because I didn't feel like cluttering it. But no, I imagine the Sims who live here are very neat. Just by looking at the state of the house, you wouldn't imagine, you know, like a house like this, which is, you know, more grand than your average suburban household, being very cluttered. So I didn't really overdo it. I did put some stuff just so that it feels lived in, but I didn't do enough to the point where it feels like things are just coming out of every corner. The kids' rooms are a little bit more messy because they're kids, but the parents' rooms and the kitchen and all the general common spaces of the house are actually pretty neat. And like I said, again, I feel like that is because they definitely have some hired help, because I just do not see how you could have both parents working and take care of the farm, because there is, I completely forgot to talk about this, there's a cow shed and space for crops out back, so I don't see how you could work, take care of the farm, and take care of this entire house and take care of kids. I just, you would have to have help. Although now that I think about it, because there is the entire farm outside, maybe one of the parents should stay home and take care of it. I don't know if maybe animals weren't the best fit for this household, but I just couldn't help myself. I played a little bit, I have my sim self in a save for cottage living, and I just could not help playing around a little bit with the cows, and I have cows and chickens and working towards buying another shed for a llama, and so it's just so cute and so fun, and I just couldn't deprive this family of having cows because they were just so adorable. Here I'm just working on a little it's like a little mud room where I imagine, because the front entryway is more, you know, grand, you really wouldn't want to just drop off your coat and book bag here, so you'll probably just go to the back of the house, or your hired help would take your coat for you and put it in the back of the house. Here it's just more seating because it is a weird hallway and I did not know what to do with it, so table, chair, and plant. That is my go-to for whenever I have a space I don't know what to do with it. Table, chair, plant. There you go. Here I'm working on the dining room. The dining room is actually sort of small, but it does seat 6 Sims. As you can see, I used the bigger table here, which is enough for all the Sims here, and another 2 Sims? No, another Sim in case you wanted to entertain. Also, if you moved the what is that called? Like the china cabinet that I have there, you could maybe add like a smaller table. But honestly, there's also so much seating in the kitchen that I don't think you're not going to be hurting for seating in this house. There's definitely more than enough to fit quite a few Sims. So yeah, just furnishing the dining room here. I promise that I don't use the beige swatch in everything because I know in the last house I also used the beige swatch for everything. This time I tried to use a bit more color. I did use darker colors, but I did try to use more colors. It's just that for those curtains especially, I find them all almost offensive except for the beige ones. Like there's something about very like patterned curtains that really rubs me the wrong way. I just don't like it. So here in the informal living room, which is much larger because I imagine this would be like where the family kind of hangs out with each other and watches TV and all that. I did try to use the same couches, I believe. Are those the couches from Paranormal Stuff? Well, they have the same pattern as the ones in the informal living room, but I didn't really like them, so I ended up using the Chesterfield couches that came with cottage living, which I am obsessed with. Sorry. I ended up using the Chesterfield couch. That sagey, it's a little too light to be sage, but that seafoam green that those Chesterfield come in, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I almost screamed when I saw them. I love them so much. First of all, that is actually my favorite kind of couch ever. Like in real life, that's my favorite kind of couch. And so when I saw it in the game, finally, I was so happy. I love the texture and all the details on it. I actually think that couch is beautifully done, and I would really love to see more items like that coming, you know, with future packs. But honestly, as far as build mode goes, I don't know about gameplay, but I think the last couple packs we've gotten have been like really good. I mean, Dream Home Decorator was great. This pack is obviously just so fantastic. And then, what was the one before that? There was another, Snowy Escape also had really beautiful built by stuff. And that was also very versatile. So here I'm working on, there's a bathroom, on the first floor bathroom, which I thought I cut out, but I guess I didn't. There's a first floor bathroom, and then there's also an office back there and a space in a laundry room. So as I was saying, you could turn this into a butler's quarter. That would be, you could turn where the office is into a butler's quarter, which also makes sense because they're close to the laundry and everything like that, if you wanted to, or you could just leave it as it is. There's also space in the informal living room for a computer, so if you want to do that, you could just do it. None of the kids' rooms have computers, by the way. They have desks for studying at and journaling and all that kind of stuff, but they don't have computers in them. If you want to put computers at them, there is a desk in there though, so totally up to you. Sorry about that. Hit my foot against the desk. So I'm just working on decorating this laundry room, which honestly I could have cut out because it isn't very interesting. And then we're moving on to the office down here. As I said, that blue door there is more or less decorative. Honestly, it looked really pretty and it was in the reference photo, which I stayed pretty true to. So I just kept it in there. I really love the typewriter computer that came with Cottage Living. I didn't think that I would like it because it feels weird to have it be like, it reminds me of the keyboards for iPads that are also a typewriter, which I'm not generally a huge fan of, but I actually really, really like the way that they look in The Sims, so there you go. And so in here, there's just a computer desk. I think there's a couple chairs over towards the door, and then just lots of bookshelves for, you know, it's just a study space and just an office. So I'm adding a few finishing touches to the outside. I switched out that bench out there, and then we are back in the kitchen. I was trying to achieve that look in the kitchen of a bookcase that has, you know, just like cookbooks in it, because it makes sense to keep all your cookbooks in the kitchen. One thing I don't like about the pawn tool, as great as it is that I wish that it showed the animals as the animals while you're in build mode. I mean, it is really easy for screenshots to just go into live mode and just take the screenshots. It's not a big deal. It's just, it does look kind of ugly having just like little stickers in the pond there. But now we are on the second floor. Oh wait, no we're not. Okay, now we're on the second floor, and I put another piano. I did not realize I put 2 pianos in this house until just now. So you can very easily switch out with something else, unless you want 2 pianos. I mean, there are a lot of children here, and so if you wanted your kids to learn piano, and there's like 4 kids, then it would make sense to have 2 pianos, I guess. So now I am working on the parents' room. Parents' room is actually pretty simply decorated, just because I didn't have a great idea of their personality. So I just wanted to keep it pretty simply decorated, but it is very feminine, I will say that. So if you were imagining, you know, more masculine Sims living here, they might not love the bedroom, but I don't know, I feel like it felt the rest of the house to have like the flowery wallpaper and the ottoman at the end of the bed. So, but really it doesn't truly matter all that much. So I've been doing this thing lately where I put the little couch at the edge of the bed, which I think looks pretty nice, but I was really worried it was going to cause routing issues, but I did playtest it. I didn't have any routing issues, so everything worked out there. I was trying to find a way to use the wire-framed bed in the parents' room, but I'm not sure. Something about it looks a bit not childish, but also not. It doesn't look like it's for adults, if that makes any sense. Or maybe it's just that it didn't fit in this build, I would say. Like it just wasn't right for this bedroom. I feel like it needed a more classic look, which is why I went with that, I believe, base game bed with the really big headboard, which I really like. The only thing that I wish is that it had some pillows against the headboard, but because I just imagine your Sim just kind of like smacking their head against like the hard wood there, but it is what it is. And I briefly thought about putting a TV in here, but then I also remembered that if you put a TV in here, the Sims will just walk in here and watch TV all day, which would be super irritating. Also, I'm not really like a huge like TV in the bedroom person. I don't think I have any like built TVs in the bedroom. The only time where I think I've done that is when, I think I built like a teenager had like their own suite of the house, and that's the only person I could kind of see that for. But other than that, I don't think I don't have a TV in my bedroom, and I didn't growing up, so it's hard to imagine it. But yeah, I put just like lots of I didn't actually put as many plants in the house as I figured that I would. But, oh look, I'm using a different color curtain. Oh, no, I went back to beige. Okay. I thought I would end up putting more plants in the house, but I think it's because the the wallpaper has flowers all over it. I ended up not wanting to overwhelm it, which I think can end up happening if you go a little crazy with that. So here I'm just decorating the vanity, just like regular vanity stuff. I used to play with so much custom content. I used to be one of those people who had like 60 gigs of custom content in their game. Recently, not super recently, like about a year ago, No, way less than that. A few months ago, I deleted almost all of my custom content. I only have 2 custom content creators in my game now. And so I've been able to see now actually how much really nice stuff comes with like the packs and the EPs that I wasn't taking advantage of because I would just toggle custom content on and never use anything Maxis. But I actually really like a lot of the Maxis stuff. I don't really need that much custom content anymore. Here I am using the, I made like a changing table out of an ottoman and a dresser. I saw this on Simlissy's YouTube channel. I did not come up with this. So there you go. But I think it looks really cute. This is a nursery, by the way, if that wasn't obvious. I did imagine that this family was either, if not currently expecting another child, planning on having it. And I really love the little growth chart, this little bear. I think it's so, so adorable. And I do, usually when I make nurseries, I figure that the kid will grow up and stay in that nursery. So now we're working on the teenager's room. I imagine it as a teenage girl. You can play it however you want. But for the teenager, I imagine that she wants to be famous, and that was the biggest personality trait that I sort of had for her. She wants to be famous. She learned piano, she sings, she plays guitar, she will do comedy, acting. She doesn't care. She just wants to be famous. She wants to grow up and go to college, or not even, actually, she doesn't even want to go to college. She wants to move straight to Del Sol Valley and go be a star. That is her biggest dream in life. She feels that she's very talented and just wants everybody else to know. So I played around with putting the microphone in the room, but I ended up going with the guitar instead. And I definitely think that her parents try to support her dreams. You know, they help her as much as they can. They get her acting classes, or can the kids take acting classes? Well, they got her, you know, a piano teacher and a guitar teacher, and they really just try to be supportive. The only issue that they have, the only, you know, big strife between her and her parents is that they really want her to go to college instead of going straight to to Del Sol Valley, but she is not happening. She doesn't want to waste any time. As soon as she leaves the house, she wants to go, you know, get her career started. So that is what I imagined being the story for this teenager. One thing about I'm not sure if it's a problem with the bunk beds or the way that I cluttered the desk, but the chair kept disappearing. And when I play tested it, after I think the 3rd time I put the chair down, it stayed, but it might disappear again as a heads up. So if it does do that, just let me know. I don't know why that keeps happening. If anybody does know why it keeps happening, please tell me, because I literally have no idea, and it's actually kind of frustrating. But yeah, so that is the story for this teenager. And then the bathrooms, the parents have an ensuite, the nursery has an ensuite, kind of weird, but it's just the way that the layout ended up happening. If you wanted to, you could switch it out so that the teenager has the ensuite, but the nursery is a smaller room. So, and then the 3 kids, I imagine them being twins. The 2 twins and the teenager share a Jack and Jill bathroom, so they both have access to the doors from their bedroom. So I feel like that was fine for a couple sets of kids. So for the 2 twins rooms, I imagine twin boys, and one of them loves animals. He wants to be a vet when he grows up. He loves taking care of the animals on the farm. He tries to help them when they're sick. He likes to get up really early and feed them and get the eggs and milk the cows, and he just loves everything animal related. And the second boy loves everything military related. He wants to join the military when he grows up. It's kind of all he thinks about. Maybe he wants to be a pilot. I got this idea because I saw the Strangerville posters for the military. I've actually never played with Strangerville, so I have no idea how the military career works at all, but that's just kind of what I envision for the sim. And they both love soccer. So there's also a soccer lamp. I think there's a soccer ball and a few other sports-related decorations around the bedroom. But I think the boys get along fairly well, even though they're so different. I think everybody in this house just generally really loves each other, even though they all have different ideas for how they want their lives to play out. They kind of respect each other, and like they're a very close-knit family, so I imagine. I think normally when I imagine Sims for playthroughs, not for playthroughs, but for builds, they're usually kind of unhappy, but for these Sims, I really just wanted it to be like a happy family where everyone's a little bit different, but everyone is accepted and loved, you know, despite or because of those differences, which is a little bit sappy for, you know, pixelated people, but that's just what I was imagining. I really want to see if we use a hamster cage in here, but they're so big. Like all the stuff with my first pet stuff, it's huge, it's massive. So I ended up just putting a fish tank in there just because it's an animal, but also they live on a farm. So there's plenty of, they live on an estate with a shed, but they live, I mean, there's animals on the property, so they can always take care of them there. But I really, really, really wanted to get a hamster cage in there because I like the idea of the My First Pet stuff, but it's so big. Same with the playhouse from Dream Home Decorator, I think. It's massive. I couldn't fit it. You can't fit it anywhere. The proportions are all like super weird. So anyway, just finishing up decorating the boys' room here. And I tried to fit a place for that growth chart, but it couldn't really fit, which is fine because I think they're a child sim, so they would be actually a little bit too big for it anyway. But we are pretty much at the end of the build here, so here are the screenshots. I hope you enjoyed. Please leave any comments or questions that you have below, and thanks so much for watching.